That I wish that was on there. Oh my God.
Say it again.
Yeah, oh my gosh. There is so many special Canadians though. There really is. Mm. Yeah, and they just keep coming. Oh my gosh, we should look at the
Of the
map.
north.
We should look at this map. I mean, the map, to look at the map, I haven't looked at the map in a while, and I'm sure I'm just going to be blown away, but I think it's pretty cool when if nobody's seen it before to see the magnitude of like where we're growing. Like I remember when these numbers were like nothing on this platform, and this is just on the platform. I love looking at this. Um, First worldview. I mean, that's just so awesome. Like this is a hotspot, but yet we still are connecting people. Look at Europe coming along strong. They were not at 88 when I last looked. They're growing. Yeah, and then it's like we zoom in and then like boom, like Canada's got hmm. Well, and then don't we have some Canadian people that are like living in other places as well? Yeah. It's amazing. I remember when none of these numbers were here. I remember when this platform was launched. But wait, let's not forget these people. Hey, look at all these people on Hawaii. Everywhere. Everywhere. It's amazing. Sorry, pardon me for geeking out there for a minute. Just think that's pretty phenomenal to really put into your brain. People are everywhere. No one's alone. Well, we got a full screen here. So, yeah, what was kind of coming to me today, and I'm totally open as with all, and we can do this how we kind of did last time if people want to share for a minute and like check in, with what's going on. But what was coming to me today was like, well, it's kind of started after I read Ariane, one of Ariane's. She put the Telegram, like the notifications for these Zooms in the Telegram, and underneath she mentioned something about like being like a pure thought. And I always see like our calls as being this kind of like dynamic bridge, where it's like we kind of like engage our like mind and create kind of an image, and then in Ariane's call we really like refine and get like that creative imagery like to really glow and flow. But what was coming to me today, and please by all means, like if no, if nobody resonates with this, that's totally fine. What was coming to me though was uh the kins domain that like you're reading in a book and you feel like maybe it's far off, or like a settlement, or like whatever, like connection to community, or maybe it's meeting a partner. I really feel like it's becoming closer than we ever thought. Like it's just like everything is speeding up. And what's been happening, I know for a couple, like a handful of us here, and I'm sure it's happening for many people, but just because we're like in contact, is it's like the moment you write something down, the moment you think something, and you're passionate about it, it's like the gears start to just, or not the gears, the ocean waves, whatever natural, cyclic process starts to kick into, motion, and it brings it about like really quick, and like brings people and like connects people. So what was kind of coming to me was like this fact of like, yeah, like settlements in like your domain or your partner or your family, it's not far off. Like it really isn't far off. um it's really like, actually, how soon do you want it? There's a quote in the books. I'm trying to figure out what book it is, but I just remember she's like, this could happen in 5 years, this could happen in 15 years or 50 years. It just really depends on how you guys like go about. And looking at all these beautiful faces, I'm just like, oh, this is gonna be next year. I mean, it's like we're moving so fast. I remember a year ago was actually, yeah, it would have been almost exactly a year ago when the first Ring Cedars community call that I like actually joined. And tend to see now where we're at with like multiple Zoom events and like people just like, you know what I mean, coming from all different parts of the world and connecting. um I'm kind of feeling like I'm babbling on, but you know what I'm saying here is like there's it's things are speeding up so rapidly, and I just kind of wanted to like fuel that inspiration train, and you know, so I don't know if that resonates with anybody or
Yeah, we're seeing some phenomenal stuff. Thanks you for saying that, Wyatt. You took me down a little memory lane here because you said, I remember last year, and I transported myself last year. I wasn't even in this community last year. I wasn't at this time last year. I only got in June, July. Oh my God, exponential trajectory. And what you say about it being on the brink for many of us, yeah, like we're seeing, we already have people on their domains we have for a while, right? But there's also like some pretty solid strides going on. We're seeing pockets of it, right? We're seeing pockets of it in Hawaii right now. Hawaii is just like kind of going, on fire right now. I saw your post, Wyatt, about you and I think Carrie and Sarah and Kristen. And I was there someone else?
Cody the
Cody, yeah,
musician.
our musician. So all of these people, everyone, are people in the community. And when I saw the photo, Wyatt got everybody together and went to the Ozarks, and that's where they want to start their settlement. And when I saw the photo, it was like historical. Like my cells, like took it as like a really important memory. Like you're literally taking the steps, Wyatt, with these brilliant people. You're all taking the steps to make this settlement happen, and by doing that you're giving all of us permission to do the same. It's amazing. So when you say like how long do you want it to be, yeah, like I'm opening up the door to having it as soon as possible and not needing to know the how, right?
Yeah, right. That's what we were talking about that as well. Did I cut? Sorry, Zach, you were wanting to say something.
Oh, um, well, I shoot. Ariane had mentioned you were had a crew in the Ozarks. I only joined, here what, like a month ago or something like that. This group, I think, and uh, I actually, I mean, I didn't know about this. I had been thinking about moving to like the area like around the Ozarks. I was wondering if you still had room for more people in your group. I mean, we can talk about this like separately.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. Totally a conversation for like a more private call. But
yeah, 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 totally.
we have no. It's like this for us, and I don't want to speak on behalf of my other fellow family that's here. But like we don't really. Everything is just like aligned so perfectly that we're really the only commitment we have is committing to that like alignment and not
Yeah,
nothing can be forced and nothing will be forced.
yeah,
Because there's kind of like a universal, like we're feeling like this crown or this like collective ray starting to form between us, where ideas and everything are just like communal and shared, and it's a really sacred space for us, and we're not wanting to abrupt that, but we also totally realize that like, okay, when another person joins who is in equal alignment, the acceleration just like happens way faster then. So
yeah.
we're so open to it, to whoever feels called to reach out, so by all means.
Cool.
Yeah,
Okay, well, let's talk another time more.
yeah,
I
yeah,
hope. Yeah, awesome.
yeah.
High five.
Wyatt, I just wanted to express, I like how you're saying you're just going to allow things to unfold. And I just came from a meditation and it was neat. Myself and another woman were meditating on trust and how we can develop trust. And she got the picture of stepping, but there was no step there. And she didn't get the step didn't form until she actually stepped. And I got the words, just trust that the next step will be there, you know? And that's how life, it's just been going. Like, I can't think 10 years or a year, but everything that I absolutely need is right in front of me for the next step, So I get the feeling you're sort of going the same way, sort of saying, I'm just going to allow it to unfold as it's meant to.
Yeah, there's been so many things that have like that, and I really want to thank you, Maureen, for saying that, because it is. I know for my brain, my brain, not my heart, but my brain, it can be really easy to become very excited, and then when it gets very excited, it's like, figure it all out, and like I don't want to do that. But it's just like this excitement, It's not like I want to control it. I just and there's a sense of surrender. For me, surrender and trust are like that. And I just want to thank you really for saying that, because it's really echoing something that's I know deep for me and deep for a lot of other people right now.
Yeah, I just want to add just sort of a fun story. Just anyway, going through the separation, blah, 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 all this stuff and trying to figure everything out and being overwhelmed. But I have a tractor, and I know I'm just learning about it. And I realized I needed a 3/4 inch ratchet, and went to these different stores and I couldn't find it. And then the next day, I looked down on the step and I go, oh my God, I think that's a 3/4 inch ratchet, like that specific. And I go up and down those stairs all the time and it wasn't there. Or I don't know how it just showed up exactly that specific what I needed. And it was just so like amazing, like how specific that was. Even to the size of the ratchet that I needed for my tractor.
If that stuff is so real, that is so true. That's like, I mean, the simplest example, the simple truths are the real truths. Like that's huge. That's like what's going on, I think, for so many people. I know that I'm sure Carrie, Sarah can speak on it. I know I can. I know there's other people in the community. I know Ariane and Megan can speak to all kinds of things happening. So it's normal though. It's normal magic. So, it is, we're getting to this place to where like, yeah, the minute we can trust, the minute we can just fully release ourselves into that, it feels like unknowingness, but at the same time it's like certainty and surrender. You're just like, this is it, this is my path, here it is. Yeah.
I I just wanted to speak to that because, well, two things. First of all, I really love how people are sharing, and how you said it's like, I don't know if you use the word real life magic, but this is like something that really connected to, and really honor this like real life magic, like, because it is, life itself is magic. And how people are speaking to how they are having those inner knowings and intuitive working with the quantum fabric of existence. Like it's so much a part of our existence here, and this is what I really want to support in my programs for how we're raising our children, the children that are here now and the children that are coming in, and recognizing how we all have, like, this saying, intuition is a gift, but it's a gift that we all possess. And this is something that's so beautiful as we awaken to it within ourselves, and then nurture that right from the beginning with the children. And if you don't mind, I'll share one more little thing, because you kept talking about surrender, and just again how we're all so connected to the fabric of this. Like, I just made a post on Instagram the other day on the equinox. It's can I read it? It's not very long. Yeah, I surrender back into her divine feminine flow, remembering the divine union from which we were conceived, the sacred channels through which we were birthed, toning to the internal rhythms of our harmonic nature. Contract, expand, contract, expand. Birth is universe all. Preserved deep within our cellular memory are the original blueprints of life, the original codes containing the most powerful force in the universe, love. That's,
That
yeah.
was really beautiful. When something about when you said the word contract and expand, I was just like, like the presence and awareness that came up in me immediately when you said that. It was like kind of, it was really stilling. I don't know, there was something that was resonating my tuning fork. Your tuning fork was resonating mine there. That was really a beautiful share. You said you wrote that on the equinox?
Yeah. 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 I think we're in a birthing process right now. Like, and when you were talking about, could be a year or 5 years or even 18 years, I would throw that number in there just because of my own intuitive things. But what we're all experiencing is it's like a birth. So this, evolution's not linear, it's cyclical and expansive, and it comes with contractions and expansions. So yeah, that's and yeah, I'm not surprised that that really resonated for you, that piece, because I feel like that keeps coming through, is that we're in this sort of birth process right now.
Yeah.
And God bless the eternal divine blueprint that all of us have within us and always have had, and is only beginning to actualize what life should really be on planet Earth now, after a long time of being submerged.
Sleeping, long sleep, waking up from a long, long, long nap. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because yeah, I feel like you shared that for a reason, Jewel. Of course you did. And it's bringing up things for me, you know. And I think sometimes speaking very openly, you know, in my life and my personality, I'm kind of a person who thrives on passion. I'm a person who's very like oriented towards like my flame burning very bright and consistently. And those times when I'm sent things and experiences happen to me to where it kind of causes me to slow down. For many years, I was training myself to avert those, you know, to avert those contractions. And it's just now that I'm peeking over the edge of that and being like, wait, you don't have to avert it. You know, you can surrender into that. So I just want to say thank you for speaking on that, because it's something, again, that's really hitting home for me.
Yeah, and I think there's like such a strong I feel as like the divine masculine and the divine feminine within each of us is kind of doing its healing, and then in the outside, it's like I feel so connected in my feminine, so this is a lot what comes through, but there's a part of me that's like in this reverence for the work that the divine masculine is doing right now on the planet, and it's this dance that's happening within us and between us, that's healing the energetics. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Can I add just a bit, to add on to yours? You're talking about the divine feminine, the divine masculine. Just reminded me, I was in a meditation last week, and what the meditation was visualizing the Ida, the Begala, like going up the spine, interweaving, but we were setting the intention. It was balancing the inner masculine, the inner feminine within us, and doing this heart breath where you know, inhale up from earth and down from heaven and join at your heart, and breathing out. And I got the words, you're creating a space of love. So I thought that was neat, you know, related to Anastasia. It was like, oh, when that's balanced within you and you're breathing out of your heart, that's how you're creating. And then with every breath, you're creating a greater space of love, and with each step that you take. Anyway, I just thought I would add that with on yours.
So many beautiful shares here. I love when these calls become just like spontaneous moments for people to really express truly and openly. And you know, it's like I remember what Gabriel was saying on one of the first calls I was on, you know, like this is a place for spiritual fellowship, and it's a safe space. It's a safe space where everyone is very like already like up here with you, like in the vision of, you know, heaven is on earth, and heaven can be created on earth. And uh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just so cool, right? Like we're all like, we've all co-created this for each other. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Sarah, I just saw your hand.
I know. I just really want to reflect back something that really touched me that Maureen shared, which is what was inspired in me from your share, Maureen, was that we can create this space of love every moment, every minute that we take in the breath. We have another opportunity to create a space of love right here and right now, no matter where we are. And this beautiful vessel that we're in, this vehicle for love, it gets to be like the space of love. And that is just so empowering, knowing that and feeling that. Yeah.
That's pretty epic. Thank you. It's weird. It was like that's like was in a part of what Maureen was saying in my brain, and then you took it and was like, really look at this. Like you highlighted like something that maybe would have just slipped by. So thank you. We're all so kind and polite. Hmm. um yeah, this is beautiful, my friends. This is beautiful. Like I remember Ariane and I and whoever else was on her call last week. There was a couple of people there. um there was more than a couple of people, but we were talking about how like just being, you know, when we're just like in this space of love, like what you're saying, like we're healing the whole world. Like the whole world's changing, people's lives are changing just from interacting, just from being in the same space, the same planet as us. Like it's changing the blueprint um of the in the timeline. It's shifting the time, like as we, you know, she says in the books, like across the dark forces window of time, like we are the soldiers who are like, okay, we're shifting it, you know, we are the ones shifting it and bringing us fully into that. So I just think it's beautiful that this is a topic that we've kind of brought up, and it seems so fitting right now with everything that's going on. I mean, I am telling you, I'm completely removed from the media. I don't watch anything, nor do I like look at any news and anything like that. And I think that I know that some of us do, and maybe I should more, but that's regardless of the point. What's so cool is that we're like, just by our thoughts, just by us being here, we're healing not only our own personal things, but we're healing like the entire space, the home around us, the apartment complex, the land, the country, the nation state. Like it's huge. It's like ah yeah.
Yeah, when you said that, Wyatt, I was having images of reconnecting ourselves to the remembering our divine design and remembering the divine design of nature, and like having that wholesome, totally intact connection, and like being totally unified with Abba's dream, with God's dream, right? We're God's dream, we're Abba's dream. You know, I say that to myself when I step outside now. I'm like, this is God's dream. Like I am part of this. This is all his dream, and we are all part of it. And it's really so it's amazing. Like what a thought to contemplate and to let, you know, myself feel. It's actually quite elating. It's amazing. I wanted to pick your brain and your heart, Wyatt, and everybody else's too. You've spoken so much about letting the land like be our greatest educator, you know. You speak about that a lot, and I have so much, like I respect you indefinitely for so many different reasons, but you say this quite a bit, and I respect you so much for reminding me about that, because the old tendency, the old blueprint is to control and like analyze and quantify and like, just not actually listen and allow the land to teach and to speak, you know. Like what a concept to step on a piece of land and to say, show me, tell me, I'm listening, instead of like, okay, get the forks and like the pitchforks and like the shovels and like the fertilizer and like like it's like, you know, that we're really stepping into a new blueprint, aren't we? And like I'd love for you to share, you know, some of that incredible wisdom you have that comes through you regarding this subject, if you're open.
Yeah, totally. Like this is interesting. You know, I started these calls out of an inspiration to talk really about land with people, because I felt like there was a huge, in my head, it was like clear as like a sunny day. Like I was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get on the land and it's easy, it's intuitive. And I was realizing, like, by listening to a couple of calls, like, well, maybe it's for some people it's kind of hard. There's what ifs, there's questionings. And so thank you for asking me this. This is like my heart passion, actually. I think that, yeah, the land is so connected and alive. It's as connected as you feel to it. It's connected to you in almost infinitely deeper way, just because we're not using everything that we can be using. Like it is so aware of like your heartbeat. It is so aware of like your inspirations, and it feeds that back to you in a feedback loop of like an inspiration thought. So like, to put it on a practical scenario of how one could develop, say, like a pond, is walking on the land and not taking a GIS mapper and taking a satellite image and being like, well, topographically my lowest point of water is there. And okay, maybe do that to check it afterwards, but walk the land and see in your mind's eye without like, when I say see, like just see, like don't intend, like just allow it to come up, because you'll walk and you'll be like, well, oh, I can see a pond there, and maybe some trees. And then when you follow that and you begin to trust that source, that essence within you that is all knowing, it like the ideas make sense. Like you can do as many research papers on why the pond in this location of your domain was the absolute literal perfect position for it. But it's like, if you're trusting that sense of guidance and knowing, it comes so easily. And the plants teach you too. The plants totally teach you. Like seriously, I don't know. I'm sure people who've had a garden, like they're so like, they like will tell, if you don't know how to care for them, they'll tell you how to care for them. And that's what's so beautiful. Is like, and I'm sure Jewel can kind of mirror this as well, reflect this, is like, children are the epitome of this. Children are so intuitive. They just know it. Like, that's all. Like, we need to get on the land and be like children who just want to be happy children of Abba, and it'll all happen. Like it's all gonna just be like, oh, the pond's there, and the trees are there, and the house is there, and then we're gonna have an orchard there, and look, my beloved. Like, that's just gonna be, it's gonna be so easy. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if that was specifically what you're looking for, but yeah.
Yeah, you reminded me of book 2. Remember when Anastasia was holding Vladimir to her heart and she synced up her heart pulse to his? and he experienced the entire natural environment through her being and her perspective. And he said he had this powerful connection to nature that literally led him into a blissed state. So, you know, that's what we can be too, you know, and it's incredible. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Wyatt.
Yeah, MJ. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, well, part of my week story. I do watch a little bit of watch or follow a bit of the news, and it reflects my anxiety gauge. And then I have to stop. And I try to find a way to keep the anxiety gauge as low as possible. But you're coming back, you were talking about plants and the land and all of that, and I think I mentioned this to this group a little while ago. I personally have quite a connection with trees, and I got reminded again this week that that trees will just take care of that, you know, swirling. Some people call it the little hamster that won't stop turning in circles and blah blah blah. You know, just like laying against a single tree and saying, how about you give me a hand, man, to just like calm this thing down, which I kind of lost control right here. It works. and yeah, recently it manifested itself twice very clearly with me within 3 minutes. Within 3 minutes of having my head on a tree and just like simply abandoning whatever was going to happen, you know, with no expectations. Yeah, that's kind of a little premise here. But just, and it doesn't have to be, of course, on your land and the trees that you know, because I do have a place I go to, you know, my little spot, and but the trees are all connected, as all of you I'm sure know, that the trees are all connected through both the roots and the stars that they watch at night. And they just love, you know, I had followed a class not at the beginning of the year with a Métis lady here around in southern Quebec. She's, you know, half Aboriginal and half French Canadian. And when I told her part of a very similar story, her comment was, oh my God, the trees must have simply said, finally somebody who's asking me to help. And it just went, wow, yeah, they are our standing friend or standing people or standing brothers and sisters, just willing to help by just standing there in your life, waiting for you to get to them. There you go.
So epic. I want to leave space. If you're comfortable, Maureen, yeah, like I actually didn't think about that, but then I remember now the story that you shared. If you feel comfortable sharing, I would love to hear it, and I'm sure other people would love to hear it.
Sure. Since I do some animal communication, so I thought I would connect with the trees and ask them directly about what's the alphabet of the trees. I thought I may as well. So I asked one tree here on my property, this big old maple tree, and instantly I got the vision of like all the roots connecting with other trees and all the mycelium and all the fungus and how they all play a role. And it was like, and then the pheromones or something, like I just saw color, like, you know, and how they can communicate, you know, um, on all levels. And that's what that tree, the maple tree on my property. And then I thought, well, that'll be neat. I think I found a picture of one of the ringing cedars, and I asked the same question, but it was such a completely different experience. It was like I was with an etheric being, like I was like with a luminous God being, like, and then I realized that you know, trees and people are all the same. Do you know how, you know, like an old soul and a young soul? And it was like I was with a really old soul. So, and I was thinking, oh, gee, you know, if you ask that question to different trees, you'd get different answers. But it was, I can't remember, like, it's one of those things you sort of get it through. I can't remember all the things, but it was just like um, the alphabet of the trees is, you know, we're the interconnection of all life. You know, we are the tree of life. We, you know, and it was just such an amazing experience, you know, of the connecting directly to the ringing cedars. Anyway, that was sort of the basic of the two readings. I hope I describe myself. It's hard to know in Zoom because you're just staring at all these faces. But
No, that was really profound, really profound. Um, yeah, yeah. The ringing cedar is a wide old line of souls there, definitely. And then there's some plants that are like new skippy ones. They're like they kind of think they got it all figured out. And you're like, yeah, wait a second, hold on, that was silly. Trees are definitely very wise and ancient. What was coming up for me from both you that I experienced with my oak tree that's just over there. Um, I speak with that tree in the morning and in the night, and I have been doing so every day for a year. And what's amazing is that I realized, I don't know, probably a couple of months ago, that it's a transmitter and it's an amplifier of your everything for you. And what it does is there's just like this image, like if I could paint it in your mind right now, of like somebody standing beneath a tree and they're hugging the tree, and the energy from that person coming from their heart is radiating into the bark immediately adjacent to their heart, and then it's going into the phloem and the xylem and the trunk, the inner trunk of the tree, and it's doing this whole reciprocal process down into the roots and up into the crown, and it's pulsing with your own frequency, because that's what it loves to do. Is it loves to hold your frequency and amplify it, and then it literally shoots it up into the cosmos and into the stars, and you can reach people, you can reach whole settlements, you can reach whole communities through that. Like you can call into, I don't know, I've just like had these distinct sensations before of like being able to communicate with someone who I didn't even know, and just feeling like if I want to speak to you, I can speak to you through this. And like if I want to I don't know, it's like it just takes everything and just transmits it up, and then like reflects off the celestial bodies and like comes back down. It's beautiful. And I know we've all like had these experiences with plants before. Like we've had these moments where we lose the sense of self in a greater self. I mean, that's the, you know, it's beautiful. Like plants are really, they're not an object of meditation. They are a meditation. It's just being present like with them. And yeah, like MJ's story, Maureen's story, and I'm sure everyone else's stories on here would say the same thing. Like we've all had those experiences with an ocean, with an animal, a pet, like it's all with another human. It's life. It's just all life. Yeah.
there was a researcher who had studied the like the sap flow in particular trees, and his conclusion was that it actually levitates. So trees actually have a levitation capacity. It's not pulled, it's like actual levitation that's going on. I don't have the mind or the vocabulary to explain it all to you. Maybe someone in here does. But this was something that had gone around not that long ago, actually. If Stefan were here, he'd probably explain it way better. He has way more of a scientific mind than I do. But there was quite a bit of research and proof behind it. And it was fascinating. And when I heard that, it really got me thinking, like it really opened up my mind to what is really going on within that tree trunk. And apparently the rings that we see in the tree, we are told that a ring is formed for every year. Apparently it's a, oh, Stefan, this is when we get the, the more left brain person to come and explain this. Is it, Stefan, how do you explain the trees? Remember the trees, they form a helix.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He's gonna explain.
Hi, everybody.
Helix, yeah.
So it's called a chirality. So a chiral is a fancy word for a spiral, and everything has a chirality to it. So we're all spiral by nature. And in fact, it's really interesting right down to the cellular level of our own tissues. When there's a compression, someone was talking about compression and expansion earlier. When there's a compression, our bodies will compress, let's say in like, let's just call it a left-handed chiral spiral. And then as it recoils and compresses again, it'll actually compress into the other direction. So it's always creating, I don't want to say balance, because that word implies stagnation. It's always creating harmony. So the reason I say that is because what's been observed in trees, like if you cut it straight across, you just see rings. What you don't see is that from year upon year, let's say this year, it will form, those rings will form in a left-handed chiral spiral. And then the following year, the rings will form in a right-handed chiral, and then left, right, left, right.
It's
so
like a helix, right?
You get it.
Yeah.
What that allows for is for trees to be very, very tall, very, very straight, and also very robust. And you get the idea, because if you can envision one spiral going this way, then the following one this way, then the other one this way, year upon year, it makes sense. And it also makes you understand why, if ever you've been to Sedona.
Yeah, strong tree.
Yeah. If you've been to Sedona or other places, where sometimes what can happen with these trees is that they do not alternate these chirals. So it'll just keep doing a left-handed chiral or a right-handed chiral. And so those are the trees that we say are gnarled. Or in Sedona, these are the areas that are known as vortexes, where there's a certain amount of energy that's moving through that region. So it's pretty interesting, isn't it?
So maybe the vortexes is pulling the energetic like helix blueprint of these trees in like a one-sided direction, or maybe there's no vortexes. Maybe it's just like, let's just say they're vortexes.
But anyway, yes, it makes for strong trees. I saw that comment, and the reason for that is because of how it's able to distribute force. So it can't just compound into one area more than the other. It's distributed throughout the structure.
And I'm just reading, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm just reading what Zach wrote there about the levitation. Capillary action is the way water levitates through. You can do it with a very tiny glass filament and the water sucks upwards. It's really interesting. Trees are amazing. Trees are incredible. We know so little. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, there's a helix. I've seen it before. They call it like this. It's in Japan. It's this way they pump water without power, and it's through this like spiral helix that you put into a pond and you turn and it draws it up. Yeah. I'm trying to find this study so that somebody can see kind of this, because I'm finding one on forest emissions, but I'll just put chirality in here as well, just so we can check it out, because it is very interesting. I've never actually heard of this term before. This is huge. It's gonna be a rabbit hole later for me.
Oh, it's already a rabbit hole for me. Look what Maureen just wrote. The Ida and Pingala. So essentially, wouldn't it make sense that our spinal column is literally a tree trunk as well, because of these, right? These different currents of energy that go up into our brain and literally into our pineal gland. Can we get more perfected? Our human beings are incredible, and it's amazing.
The apex, man, the apex of creation.
I'm gonna connect that too with something I read recently around how we breathe through like our right and left nostrils, and it alternates and it connects to that part of our brain. And this like, sorry, I just got uncomfortable sitting in my chair. this like this balance, or what was, I forget, how do I say your name? Ariane? Yeah, your partner, he said about like this concept of the balance. Like, I think this is, yeah, like it's this metaphor that what we're seeing in the tree is like the same what we're seeing in our body, and it's the same what we're seeing in this energetic of the divine, of the masculine and the feminine, the left and the right. Like there's this energetic, it balancing, like he said, sounds stagnant. It's not. It's like almost more of like a bringing a harmonic. It's making it, bringing it back into a harmonic tonality. So that just got me excited to think about that, because just how it's just so layered. Everything's so layered. And the metaphors are like, they're not metaphors, they're layers.
Yeah, totally. And it's just like with music, right? Like there's all these, we speak of vibration and frequency, we're speaking about light, and we're speaking about music as well. Like the harmonic frequencies, like that's why there's solfeggio frequencies. That's why there's these specific tones and patterns that are in that, maybe it's with that chiral state or whatever, and then they create this harmonic. It's beautiful. Yeah, like Ariane said, we're like the apex. We have that within us. That's even cooler.
Yeah, I was going to speak to that too. Sorry, I'm talking a lot, and it's like my first night here, and I feel like I shouldn't talk so much.
No,
but probably like other noobs maybe feel this excitement when they meet like a whole group of people that are thinking like them. Because I know, like 5 years ago, I was saying to my husband, like, I just want to find people that are thinking the way that I'm thinking and what I'm experiencing. And like Maureen shared, like I also I didn't know how to express to people when I could see like auras around plants, and I could feel energy frequency, and then I didn't know how to express that to, at first I didn't even have the language to express it, and then started to just surrender and just trust, and then to find people who are talking about these things. It's so elating. But I have this very strong belief that like our body is this like incredible technology, but technology sounds maybe too technological, but we have this everything from like psychic dreams, like what you were saying about how you can connect to people just in your place of love through sending out this energy. And then and I especially when I was pregnant, I was very open to those types of like I astral traveled to this laboratory to see this tube that my sister-in-law was pregnant, and they were having some troubles, and I went and I looked and I read the tube and what was going on, and I had all the information, and then we came to find that all of it was exactly that, and then you think, okay, this is like this is unreal how this exists. But now I just have this like this very strong faith, or that this is like what's being awakened within our bodies. We're being activated, so to speak, and we align with it through connecting to other frequencies, like creating our space of love. And like I forget who said it before, but even just being in an apartment building and being the people in the apartments beside you and the people who you lock eyes with as you walk down the road, you're transmitting this nourishment in your essence, in your essence. And I also wanted to share that me and my sons planted a tree of knowledge on our property. When I wrote the first book, we go to visit it every day. We planted an ash because it was like a yoga drill, the tree of life, in the I think it's the Viking mythology, the yoga drill, or the Norse mythology. I think I'm saying that's right, but if not, somebody might be able to correct it. But the ash tree represented the tree of life. And then this brook that I'm writing now is right beside the tree. So yeah. And then there's an owl that I wrote the second book that comes every few years, because their migratory paths are quite large. And I didn't know that at first. So it was there when I wrote the book. And then a few years later, when I started to work with the illustrator on the illustration, that winter, the owl returned. And I thought, oh, this is like unbelievable luck that, I thought maybe it was a different owl, but I did some looking at, they can have quite a large migratory path. And yeah, those are just some other things I felt inspired to share. Yeah.
You're on the inspiration train.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
Can
This
I
is
give
the
you
place.
an explanation of your feeling, if it's okay? I'm jumping in. Hi, everyone. I just am, it's so interesting. A couple things. One is, I thought that you had been here, and I went, that's so strange, because I know her, but I don't remember seeing her name. And so you're in good company. And as you were starting to speak, as Wyatt was also feeling expand, contract, expand, I kind of started going like this, listening to you, because I feel that, and it set the tone for this call. We've been talking about it, the duality, the balance, the helix, all of it. So I'm so excited you found this community. And it's the same way that I felt when I first was like, I was desperate. And I said the same thing to my husband. I said, I have lots of friends here that I love, but I need to find someone that speaks the same language. And I was desperate to have this type of conversation. And as soon as you start talking, I was like, oh, there she is.
Mm-hmm.
Another friend, another family member's here. And the last thing is, it was a pure sunny day, and a massive thunderstorm rolled in as soon as we started all coming together.
Just
God's spark energy. Oh, that's what the other thing I was going to say, not to interrupt, was that feeling that you're feeling. We laugh, and at some point, I don't know who came up with it, but it's like that tuning fork. It's like you're walking through town or in your garden or whatever it is, the neighbor on the other side of the wall for you in the apartment. It's this strong tuning fork as you're discovering yourself, that other people are discovering you, and they're in turn discovering themselves. And it's this beautiful connection that we're all, oh, did you hear that? Oh my gosh, that was huge. I'm happy to be here. So hi, everybody.
I wanted to say something quick. Actually, I have to go because we're meeting some friends for dinner, but I wanted to share a quick story. And first, I just wanted to say thank you for sharing that, Megan. It was really beautiful and really sweet and really well put together, everything that you just said. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier, but I guess it kind of flows with everything about children. So I was nannying like a week ago, and I did some visioning with the children, and the girls are 5 and 2. The one girl didn't particularly want to participate in the visioning, but the 2-year-old did. And I asked them to draw their family domain. And the little 2-year-old started to take her pens and crayons, and she just started to draw scribbles on the page. And it was so cute. And I looked at her and I was like, oh, what's that? And what's that? I started pointing to her and asking her what these things were. And she would say like, that's the pond, and that's the orchard, and there's the school, and there's the forest, and there are the paths. And then I was like, wow, that's so great. I love your drawing. And then I came back to her a little while later, and I'm like, okay, wait, which ones are which now? And she went through the same thing again. So everything, all the scribbles, she knew exactly what all the scribbles were. And then so like I kind of did this a few times to see if it was always the same thing, and it was. And so finally I just I labeled them for her parents. But I just was like, it was so cool. And I would love to, I think maybe I shared it on Telegram. I can't remember. But anyway, I'd love to maybe share it on the community platform, just like her drawing and my drawing. It was the very first drawing I ever did of my kin's domain as well. I have both a jungle and the Siberian taiga in my domain. So anyway, the kids are so intuitive. They just so know. I mean, she's 2 years old, and she did this, and she just had the whole vision down, and she just drew it. So anyway, I wanted to share that. But that's it.
That's huge. That's huge. That she consistently went back and was like, no, that's my pond. Yep, that's my pond. That's huge.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna go. It's been a lovely call, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Yeah, bye.
Yeah, I know there's many people, but I always, whenever I think of Ringing Cedars children, I always think about Megan's children, because there's some magic children there. Oracle children. Yeah, they're so pure. They, like you were saying, we had a call. You were saying they're so innocent. They're closer to that innocence that we're like, we were where we went. Now we're kind of like walking back. They're like, I'm here. Yeah.
All children have that. We just, are you paying attention? I think that's, yeah. I had this, well, I can tell a story, but I don't want to keep talking if somebody else has something to share. No,
I think we'd love to hear your story.
It came up because Maureen was, I think, talking about communication with animals or something to that effect. But anyway, it all kind of comes together. This past weekend, I was visiting a friend's land where they're building their home, 3 acres. It's amazing. It's some of our best friends here. And we went out there and we were hanging out, and my littlest one is very connected to animals. And so she's 6 years old, and she's sitting there, and it's 3 acres, and it's in the middle of, where we live, there's a lot of open land. And this teeny tiny little tiny dog, a dachshund, I don't even know, just runs up and jumps up in her lap and wouldn't leave. And she was holding it, and it was her new dog named Chocolate, and that was her dog. And but it wouldn't leave her arms. Like sometimes dogs like, don't hold me. It was in her arms. And every time I was telling her like that somebody else's dog, set it down, it would jumping in her arms, and nobody else. Like, so it kind of checked out the other children, but really with Kaylin. And then I was distracted and rushed, and I saw a flea on it, and I was like, I don't need fleas in my life right now. And so I told her, it was like, this is somebody else's dog, our friend's family, like, can you just let us know that somebody, it's been returned to its neighbors, but we got to go. We have stuff to do. And she cried for hours. And this is like, she's such this sweet little thing and pure hearted. Like, she cried for hours, and she stomped her foot and said, "No, Mom, that's it. I've had it. We are going back to get chocolate. She needs me. She loves me." And I just was like, anyway, 2 days later, a friend was like, "Has anyone seen my dog?" This dog was talking to her like, "I'm lost. I need my family. You know what I'm saying, right? Like, please take me home." And I was too distracted to listen. And I was so sad about it because it was gone still for several more days. So now it's been a week later or something. And they ended up finding it because Kaylin found the dog Chocolate, and then she posted a picture of it. And I went, "Oh my gosh, your dog Bitsy is now named Chocolate, and it's Kaylin's dog." But she knew it, and I was too distracted to listen, being busy and adulting. And I had places to go, and I didn't want fleas in my house. So that was my logic. Her logic was from her heart. This dog loves me. It's a sweet animal. We all have to care for each other. And they totally had that connection. So it's like, I always think coming back to our, it's all there. We all have it. All children have it, especially. Are we as adults listening and hearing it? We've talked about this a little bit, on the side is this idea of school or a way of educating or homeschooling? Are we teaching the children, or are we as parents having to be re-educated on how to be there for your children, right? Anyway, that's my little side story.
No, that's a telling side story, I think, for all of us. Sorry, Ariane, go ahead.
I'm just going to quickly jump in here super quick before you get into it, Wyatt. Megan, you also foster it in them. Like, you really do a phenomenal job of like permitting them to be their sovereign selves. Like, I see you with them and I see you interact with them, and it's really inspiring. Like, I'm taking notes, in the background here. Like, you really do like permit them to be, and I know you're saying like, oh, the parenting thing, and yeah, of course, we all have these strenuous moments, and we're not thinking, but in general, it's really impressive. It's really beautiful, and clearly, it's doing something major. Look at your kids. I mean, it's no words, right? So, sorry, Wyatt. Go ahead, Wyatt. You're gonna say something.
No,
Thank you.
yeah, no, that's pretty much what needed to be said. That's pretty much it. Yeah, it's like we're all walking reminders too. Like, like Megan, like how you raise your children and how you do all this. Like, okay, so we all have these moments where we kind of fall back into that space, But I just read in the books, Abba, God does not want his children to be slaves. He did not make us to be slaves. That's a quote, so it's like, it doesn't have to be a quote. It's truth. We're not supposed to be that way, and our children remind us of that. Totally. Sorry, Mark, go ahead. Not sorry. I gotta go back to our language. I'm not sorry. I've been saying that and catching myself now, so.
Yeah, don't be sorry. I had no intention whatsoever of talking about this. But all the children's stories kind of prompted me, because it may lead anywhere, who knows where. But today is the 6-month-old birthday of a very, very special child who was killed by terrorists in the Oberoi Hotel in Mumbai, India, during that terrorist attack in 2008, when she was 13 years old. Her and her father both. They were the only Americans killed in that attack. And she was a very, very special 13-year-old girl at the time. And she's been gone for 13 years. And she came to me about a year ago as she was coming in to reincarnate, and identified herself to me. She was the daughter of a very dear friend of mine, who I've been connected with since she was 18. And she came back because she wants to help the world. She has, she's a light being. And she came back to reincarnate in her niece, in my friend's niece, who is her cousin, who was the same age as her when they were both alive. And I, have a very, very deep connection with her. And I bring her along with Anastasia and Anastasia and Theodoret. I'm calling him Theodoret now instead of Evaldia or whatever it was. I bring them into every meditation that I do, which is 3 times a day. I meditate 3 times a day. And I bring her into that meditation as well. But these beings are souls that we have, in most cases, very little knowledge of who they really are. We're all multidimensional beings. We're all eternal multidimensional beings. But and we know the kinds of beings that are going to come in that Anastasia has described in the future, especially in the Kin's domains in Russia. But just the unfathomable nature of what these children are, and where they come from, and how the cycles are unfolding, and how it's all connected. So for whatever reasons, her ex cousin, who is now her mother, named her the same name that she had when she was my friend's daughter. Naomi Rose now in this case. And I just felt like somehow I wanted to invoke her. So I'm tempted to say sorry for that little digression, but I won't.
No, don't dare say sorry for that. There's nothing to apologize for.
We have to come up with a new word instead of sorry to transition. Like, I don't know, a beautiful word. Oh, what is the word?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for sharing that. I feel like I keep talking, but I connect so deeply with your story. And I don't know if I've ever shared my story of Kaylin coming in, but I can if you would like to. I don't know if I've ever, but it's
Please do.
so my whoa, it's like I'll cry. It's a crier. But I lost my brother in 2015, which was just like it was just so much into this story. But I lost my brother, and it was sudden, but also like his body was very sick, and so it was this release. But he started coming to me like in dreams immediately, and within weeks, I found out that I was pregnant after his passing, and and then we have another brother who called me. And he said, I have really exciting news. And I said, what is it? And I said, you guys are pregnant, aren't you? And he said, yep. And we had the same due date. So Kaylin and my niece we were in labor, and they were born within 24 hours of each other. But Kaylin coming in is this spitting image of my brother, and the personality of my brother. And And the dreams that my brother would always come to me in was I don't even know which parts to talk about, but I'm just acknowledging that that it's my experience also. It was like it was an instant need that still needed to be filled, to come back in and care for. And I cared for him in his later time in his life. So I came back, and this little girl, she's just incredible. And she from the little baby, she always had this like laughing at this thing, that this up above. When she'd be nappy, she would wake up and not cry, and she'd start talking to something above her. And then when she could start really talking words, she would say things like, yeah, you're my favorite mom of all the moms I've had. And things like that. And just being there, and she's constantly bringing me back to center. And I mean, I could go on, but it wasn't until, really, I knew there was a connection, and had people coming to me telling me there's this connection, like there's this message. Did you know? Did you know that this is happening? He's standing there telling you that he's always holding your hands, and like he used to. Anyway, this is a babble, but you were meant to share that story because it sparked something so deep in me, and I don't know if anybody else. It's just it's happening, and it's happening more and more because these beautiful beings of light need to be here on earth, and what an honor it is to be a mother to one or two, or however many come through.
Mm-hmm.
But the magic that it's brought into my life, and just a confirmation in my own life that magic is real and normal, and miracles are real. And if I can share that and inspire that in somebody else as a tuning fork, or you, Mark, saying that too, it's just these children, oh my gosh, these children coming through now are so pure and so wonderful, and I've learned so much already just in allowing, unwinding, unlearning and relearning what's important.
They are coming to teach us, and I've known since I was a little girl that's what I was, why I came and here was to support this generation that's coming now. And as a little girl, I knew I would write these books. My intuitive stuff was very strong as a child, and then like all of us got sort of conditioned and went dormant in a survival type of thing, and then it got reactivated through pregnancy, and this this knowing that's come so strongly since 2012, and then big leap downloading to support these children, the souls that are re-entering. There's a lot that are coming in that are new souls, and there's a lot that are old souls, and there's two types of lineage. There's like our biological lineage that gets is encoded from the beginning, and then there's our soul lineage, which is different. It's not like in the same idea of linear, but is that multi-dimensional, And the children that are coming in now are not programmed to get deprogrammed as easily, right? So we're seeing this in the school system a lot, that they're just not adapting to the structures and the being imprinted upon. They're just balking at it, and not in so much of a, well, sometimes it's communicated as sort of what's the word, like a discipline issue or whatever, but it's actually much more pure than that. And the work that I've done for the last 8 years, specifically with what they consider the hardest to teach children, which are usually children that are coming in with a lot and they're just not adapting to the system. And I've been able to give the kids the empowerment of the literacy, and then completely change their trajectory within the system which they're in, and they don't have a choice at this time. And the magic is within us, no matter where we are, right? No matter if we're on a kid's domain, or if we're in a school system, or if we're world schooling, like, these children are going to come in everywhere. And then being able to put in these supports, and this, and we are like, there is no mistakes, in the sense of, like, we are designed to be their teachers as the nurturers, whether we're a parent or a guardian or a grandparent. We're designed to be their teachers, and they are designed to be ours. So it's a process that's happening in both ways. And they're so unique. I echo what you were saying, Megan, about feeling this honor and this, like, it's like my first, I have a new soul and I have an old soul. And when I had my first son, I thought for sure, for my whole life, I'm going to have an old soul, this is just for sure going to happen. And then he was new. And I thought, well, maybe this is what everybody feels, because he's just a new baby, like he's a new human. But then the more I got, and I'll never remember, he was about 3 years old, and we were walking down in the trail behind our house, and there was big ponds, and he was puddles, and he was running and jumping, and he said, "Mommy, mommy." And I said, "What, life?" And he said, "Do you know why I love the nature so much?" And I said, "No, I don't. I mean, I love it too, but why do you love it so much?" He said, "I just was the nature." And I said, "Oh." And so he had been in the energy of nature, but not in human before. And then he said, "Mommy, do you know why some people don't take care, or why do people not take care of the nature? And do you know why?" And I said, "No, I don't understand it, actually." And he said, "It's because they've been human too long." And I think what he means by that is that like we were saying, like, there's been a dormant period where we've forgotten, like, this connection. And so it was like, he was 3 years old. he was saying these things, like, he's been consistent. He's 9 years old now. And then I have a little 4-year-old who's the complete, like, with life, it was like, I felt this immense responsibility. He's a brand new soul. I'm showing him this place from a human perspective for the first time. Like, all of a sudden, it was like I had to check all my filters, all my lenses, anything that I had picked up that had given a skewed, any bitterness, any resentment, any judgment, all the things that I had built in through my life experience. I said, I can't bestow this upon him. Why would I pass this down onto him? So it was an activation for me to begin that work very quickly. And it really set me up for the second little soul that entered, because he's an old soul. And so he has a very strong disposition to tap into the old programs. So for him, I have to actually be very strategic in showing him it doesn't have to be that way. Like, an old program will be activated and he'll just think it. like I won't have to, with life, I had to explicitly explain everything from how to hold cutlery to read people's body language. Like he couldn't pick up on any of it. And yet now he's like highly, like, what do I say? It's like the people that meet him, like everyone would be shocked to think that he didn't have these people skills. But he didn't. He had to be very much taught. Whereas Lindell, my youngest, he picks up on things really quickly, but he has this whole backdrop of programming that I almost have to like help him question his, automaticity with things, and give him more perspective. It doesn't have to be black and white. It doesn't have to be boy or girl. It does. So it's very different parenting technique, and actually supporting other moms that are experiencing that is like one of my most greatest joys to to support this of service to those children, as they are maturing, as they are
That was a beautiful share. I want to, maybe Ariane already wrote that down in her notepad perhaps, but I think you should definitely get in contact with the women who, Megan and Ariane, they're putting together a birthing sort of program. And I think obviously you have tremendous insight and experience to offer into that. I'm not speaking for Ariane, but I thought I saw, perhaps she could speak more about the depth of that project. But yeah, that story is amazing.
I would love to. Because I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I can I do Akashic work, like in the Akashic record reading type of, where I open myself to allow, and I can, it wasn't something I intended, but I can pick up when someone's pregnant or even waiting to become pregnant. I can pick up the energies of the souls. And so that's something that I just thought I would love to support, and this is why I'm here. So on earth, I mean.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to Earth and for coming here, and we should definitely talk further, because we have that's something that's been coming through, whether whether we like it or not. We are here. I feel called. I'm saying we because Ariane and I have been talking about it, to help these new souls on this earth and this planet, and for the families, bringing them in, helping that. When you were speaking your story about your children, I have Kyla is 10, Kaylin is 6, and complete opposites. And I almost didn't have a second, because Kyla was so really difficult as a baby. And then I had this old soul Kaylin that came. I mean, I think they're both, anyway, they're very different. Kaylin is very old soul. Kyla is just a bolt of lightning, and everything she does is sparkly and shiny. And that's a lot. It's like holding this beautiful firecracker wherever she goes. It's amazing. But I would love to just talk further. The things you're saying, and I mean, I'm sure so many people in our community, but the words you're speaking are so true. And it's almost like verbatim the things we've been talking about in recently, and writing about, and trying to develop a way to help facilitate this. So I don't want to take up all this time, but we should connect. Absolutely.
Can I just add a little bit what you're saying about the young soul, but was in nature before? I just remembered, when I was connecting with the Cedars, and it was a very, very old soul of a tree. And I had asked about, can you explain to me the alphabet of the trees? And what I heard was the amount of knowledge that I have would take me 1,000 years to impart to you. And I said, well, can you give me a little tidbit? And what I heard was, when you love, I feel it. So anyway, and that's the greatest thing that you can do. So anyway, I just thought I would add that, with that's probably what your son was like before he came.
He is the most loving creature I could ever. I can't even, when I was pregnant with my second, first of all, he knew I was pregnant before we even did, when I was pregnant with my second, but it was actually, yeah. And then when I was starting to show, he would draw me a bath, and he was only 4 or 5 at the time. He would draw me a bath and say, "Mommy, I made you a bath." He would do things that were so, just so heart led. And even now, if I just recently lost a very dear friend. We had grown apart a little bit because she had moved to New Zealand 10 years ago, but she was a very close friend in my 20s, and just found out this week that she passed, and unexpected, completely sudden. And anyway, I've been on and off crying all week, and he will just walk up from behind me and just squeeze me, just no words, no nothing. It's like he feels it. And it's funny because but sometimes my husband will not really know something, and he'll say it, he'll explain it to my husband. He's very loving, very loving. Yeah.
It's really interesting, Wyatt and everyone, how as we meet bi-weekly, we truly are taking, I just see all of us walking up a staircase, these themes come up, we bring them up here on your call, Wyatt, and then we kind of further reinforce them through imagery on my call, which is the next day, the imagery call. I'm not going to say my call, on the imagery call the next day. It's really interesting that this is a big one, isn't it? Education, children, we're being given the next breadcrumb here. And of course it makes so much sense. Oh my God.
I mean,
Pretty amazing.
think about what we've been doing on the back end. Ariane, you have been kind of, on the RC, the mural boards, you have been getting those going, focusing really on the birth, and we've been meeting over the education. And then I think, Jewel, it's you, and it's also the images and the other people connected to you that have come as this, exactly what Ariane said, this breadcrumb of kind of crystallizing these concepts. That, there's a quote in the book: the greatest conscious awareness always comes from an individual man first. Individuals. It always is born in individuals, and then it's put upon on the mass level. And I just feel so strongly that these programs are going to be built by people who are living the principle and can see the results. They're going to be people like Megan, people like Jewel, who have children and they've experienced this. They know what children can be capable of, and it's just so heartwarming to see the call go out, and to hear the call of others, and to find this beautiful meeting ground of everybody coming together for this. It's really this selfless divine act. It's paving the way for the children of the future. They're so excited. I feel like they're just watching and laughing and oh, look at these people go. Can't wait to come. At least hopefully that's what I'd be thinking. But sorry, Ellen, you wanted to say something? Not sorry.
I just want to say hello, and how much I've enjoyed all the shares this evening. And I love how, I feel so right at home in a call that people are sharing about reincarnation and talking to spirits coming and talking to trees and and how this is so true and normal for us, and then how in any other context people would be like, wow, that's like really far out there, you know. And we barely know each other on some levels, but like our souls know each other, and it just feels so lovely to, you know, hold each other in that space and just like want to go deeper into the presence of all life speaking through us, and listening deeper, and you know, whether it's with the children or the water or the trees or the birds, you know, just knowing it feels like this whole new realm is opening up for us, to explore and to play, and to really co-create, you know, these new systems, which probably won't be really systems, but almost like casual agreements to come together and share the unique knowledge each one of us has, or it's not even knowledge, but just that infinity spark, you know, that essence, life force essence. And it's always going to be spontaneous and morph. And I think you're just seeing how these kids will fit into that. Just really super exciting. It's really heart enriching. And when you said, Maureen, the tree said, "When you love, I feel it," I automatically thought, oh, that's a perfect title for a children's book. You know, because I could just see the tree saying that, and then, you know, the flower says that, and when the bird feels like, when you love, I feel it. So when we impart that message, like we're all, our love makes a difference, you know, our grace, our energy makes a difference in this world. And that's really more important than anything that we could study or any, you know, rule that a small child, just to know that their love makes a difference. So anyway, love you guys. Thanks for being here tonight and hosting this, Wyatt.
Ellen, it's always a pleasure to have you. And you always share like such phenomenal like caps to like a whole sequence of events, and you just like put this eloquent like cap over it that just seals the deal. I noticed that about you, so I appreciate your gift. Thank you.
Jewel, you may not want to go down this path at all. And if you don't, you know, don't, of course. But when I hear that, I was nature, there are two things that come to me. One is that he was a nature deva. And the other is that he was a literal physical part of nature. You know, imagine, you know, that aspen grove, which is supposed to be the biggest organism on the planet because all the roots are connected. I mean, what kind of soul, you know, must that aspen grove have? And when I first started meditating on Anastasia and her children, I also meditated on that particular ringing cedar tree. And that particular ringing cedar tree, I somehow connected more with it than even, you know, with Anastasia and her children. And the power of that tree, of a ringing cedar tree, I mean, it was just unbelievable. You know, that energy, you know, that went through it, that made it ring. So you may have a sense, you may not want to share what your sense is, but I just wanted to say all those things and see if there was any more you wanted to share or not.
I have one clarification question. What I definitely resonated with the second part of what you said, but what was the first part you said? It could be this or that.
That he could have been a nature deva, a nature spirit. In my experience, all of the different kinds of animals have an animal deva, a spirit deva. that's the deva for the whole particular subspecies of animals that they are. And
Mhm.
that all the different particular kinds of, plants have spirit devas or nature devas that are the soul of the sum totality of all those particular kinds of plants.
Okay, I
So
understand.
that he could have been a plant deva or an animal deva or whatever, or he could have been whatever the second part you heard.
Yeah, so yes, I understand this now. You are talking your language for deva. I understand that now as I'm familiar with that entity of the essence of a certain plant, like especially through working with herbs and recognizing how like one plant is connected to all of this plant everywhere, even on the whole earth. My favorite plant is it's a called self-heal, or Brunella vulgaris is the Latin name for it. And it grows on every continent. And I spend a lot of time with this plant and I can feel it everywhere. But with my son, what I've experienced, because we've gone into his records 2 times, and what I see when I'm in his records, and it took me a bit to even understand, because sometimes what I see is like macro and sometimes it's micro. So sometimes it's really, really far away and sometimes it's super close up. And with him, it was like I was inside of like it was like God's source cellular, like it was like a liquid inside of I'm sure it was a plant, and it was like you could see this God's source substance inside moving. It was like in a fluidity on a cellular level, and this was like very strong, like a lot of when I was in his record, this is all I was in, seeing, being taken on this journey through this plant, which meant very little to me, but he was listening like he was riveted by what I was describing, because a lot of the time I don't necessarily understand what I'm seeing. I'm just giving it as much language as I can. And then whomever is receiving it often makes more sense to them. And he was at that time, I think, maybe 8. And he was like riveted, like listening to it. So I think he was like in inside of this, whether this was like his something to do with the actual like this substance, this God source energy. This is what I could see of him in when he was flowing. He was in motion. This is what I saw.
This is exquisite to me. Do you know what soma is?
Mm.
The ancient drug?
Well, no. The real soma, in the body of the enlightened, or those who are stress-free, or those who are living God more purely, there's something that can be produced mostly in the digestive system of their bodies. That was called soma when it was internal, and called ojas because it would come out onto their skin and you could smell it on their skin. And that soma was like the most pristine, pure, perfect product that the human body could produce. That was like liquid God consciousness, or whatever you want to call it. And I would say that in the sap of plants, or in the the most basic nourishment that plants produce, that there could be something also like soma, which is, you know, the God consciousness of the physical body of the plants. And when you were talking, that's what came up for me. Like, you know, he was, and it's universal, you know, so it's in all plants. That you know, that he was, in a sense, the liquid God consciousness of the plants themselves.
Yeah, and I think it's like this, we were talking earlier about our bodies, like as the word we are like an instrument, the technology, but still the word technology doesn't feel like it's the right word. But it's like what actually fuels our cells in the activation is so much connected to the food, like what we're doing in our kin's domain. We're growing the food, so we're eating like we're feeding our living bodies with living food. And so me and my boys this year were convinced that we could try to grow all year round. And for those of you who are in Canada, especially those of us that are in the east or anywhere other than the Vancouver Island, which is a very lovely, mostly mild climate. But for the rest, and I grew up over there, and I was like, I couldn't understand when people said, "Oh, Canada, is it snowy all the time?" I was like, no, it never snows. But I grew up, you know, southern Vancouver Island. It snows in the rest of Canada for like half the year. So, but we built our first cold frame, and then we also did things in the house, like with some sprouts and you know, the romaine lettuce you buy, the organic romaine lettuce at the superstore or wherever you grocery shop, you know, this you can stick it right in the soil and it grows. Does anyone know that? Like, I saw it on like some silly Facebook thing or YouTube, and I thought, this is a joke. They're just lying. But I was, you know, naive or guileless enough to be like, I'm going to try it. And I stuck it in, and it grows. Like, you put it in and you can get 2 or 3 more salads out of the stump of this. So we kept planting those all winter, and then we did this cold frame, and we were able to grow kale all winter. And what's interesting is my youngest, he is a very picky eater, and very like it's very challenging at dinner time for him to sit down and eat, but he will eat fresh food. Like, he won't touch or trust anything that people put in front of him, which is partly because I think he's an old soul, so there's some sort of trauma there. But with the cold frame, he will eat like nonstop this kale. And in the woods now, I teach him, okay, you can eat, like, you can chew on the pine needles, you can eat the dandelion leaves. Like, I teach him, but now he knows to come every time he picks something up and, "Mommy, can I eat this?" So like to like what he will eat things that are growing, and no problem to try it. But you put even like a pizza in front of him, like what every child would want to eat, and he doesn't trust it. He doesn't want to touch it or put it in his body. So it's interesting. I think that I kind of got sidetracked onto the food thing, but because that, what you were saying, like the plants for sure are activating our body. So what we're growing, how we're growing it with love, all of that is it's a co-regulation, and we're nurturing it, and it's nurturing us, and it's healing our bodies, and it's healing our instruments. So this God source energy, what I forget the word you use, but this really resonates for what I feel around the food piece of like what I have a list of 111 things that I'm dreaming right now. And one of them is to eventually just eat living food, and it may be a number of years to get there, and or food created with love. So it's important yeah, this relationship with the food.
That's a huge important thing. I mean, seriously, hugely important. Something I'm very passionate about. I wish Ariane, we haven't seen our friend Haley in a long time. We need Haley to come back. Haley and I actually had talked about doing a research project. To if you're familiar with the way of planting the seed, Jewel.
Under the tongue.
Yeah,
Yeah, with doing that with not my 4-year-old yet, but with my 9-year-old.
yeah,
And we
and
couldn't believe it. The first time we did it, we did it one day, and the next day it had sprouted. Like it was like we thought, what? Usually takes 3 or 4 days, right, for the thing to sprout, but we did it, and then the next day we saw these little. We were doing sweet peas, I think. Yeah.
yeah, no, it's amazing. We Haley and I were going to do a study to try to map out the experience for those who think food is just a byproduct of, or just just physical matter. We were going to try to map out how we could do a study, showing that food grown in this intentional way, using the seed in this specific way, actually could be huge. I mean, I find the benefits to be huge. Especially with how the plant interacts with the person. There's a sense of like I know you, hey, come on, and it's really interesting to think about how that whole process. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't mean to interrupt. It's almost funny because yes, and it's this relationship where like where it's the same. We sense that relationship with animals, right? When we used to be much closer to the animals that we ate, like we knew and we had respect, from hunting to domesticating animals to then there was a respect, but there's the same level is with the plants. There is a reciprocity around our relationship with they're a living thing. They don't seem as sentient as an animal like a pig, but they are. And so I see two things. I see in the future, we're not going to be eating actually as much. Our bodies are going to need far less sustenance. Some people maybe not, almost nothing. The air itself is actually full of nutrients. We just, it's like we, the more that our body is activated, the more that we will be able to generate energy or sustenance from less consumption of living things. But but there will still be a relationship with the food, and that those people who have that touch will be growing the food, and that is like it will be a much more intimate relationship, because the other stuff is like, it will become almost like, not that it isn't right now, poison almost. It's dead food. It's not, it's just yeah. I mean, I don't want to say so extreme like poison, but it's not life generating. It depends on the scale, but it can also be almost life taking away, degenerative.
I think it's
Poison is the right word.
Yeah, echo that, Megan. Yeah, I mean, listen, we can live as long as we want to live. We only live for however long because we slowly kill ourselves. I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, it's the truth. We're walking out of that, what's really what we're doing. I mean, yeah, I've definitely, I think many people have gone down that path of looking into food very deeply and then kind of coming back to a balanced sort of perspective with it all. But that being said, yeah, the air was life-giving in the beginning, and we can feel that. I felt that in the imagery before, we can feel that with the pollen, and we see, and then what comes to me is that, yeah, we eat is a form of just like, it becomes a form of genuine pleasure. It's not this form of like necessity where we're like, oh man, I gotta like consume this to get my caloric intake. It's like, it's not scientific. It's like, that apple looks delicious. Here, try it, beloved. It's a delicious, it's like, it's not like this. It's free, it's freedom. We're no longer a slave to that. We're able to be, I mean, what's freeing about having to like think about feeding yourself?
Mhm.
There's,
Yeah, and yeah, and it's become like multiple layers of taking away from freedom. Like here it was, you know, God, like the God and Mother Earth, like I see it as like the impregnating of spirit into matter, right? Like we're and matter is we're in this process of evolution. So like the spiritualization of matter is what's taking place here. And but we are like we had a tomato plant and we ate the tomato and we dried the seed and we planted the seed and we had another tomato plant. There was no money involved. It was this regenerative process, and this the becoming detached from that, and having to go to a store and then realizing, oh, like not even knowing that this thing regenerates. I want to try to create a system or a program or something, just even locally to help. Like there's quite a few communities around that, just like the whole what is it called, food, like insecurity, where people are families that are
food desert.
yeah, right. And just to build a cold frame, or to start, lots of people during the pandemic started little gardens, and so trying that. But I was chatting with some grade sixes at the school that I'm teaching at the other day, and they understood like immediately when I was there. We built an outdoor garden, and I said, like you don't need to buy this tomato. That gives you the seed, and then you plant it, and then it grows another tomato plant, and then you save a seed and you plant it. And they were just like, you could just see them being like, instead of waiting to get apples at the store that have come from, on a ship for however many days, and then it's not so live when you bite it. And they were like, yeah. And we found some crab apple trees last year in the schoolyard. They weren't as so delicious, but at least they were alive, right? And just starting those kids, it's so intuitive for them. Like they don't bulk, they don't have an argument against or some other. We build lenses, filters, and perspectives like as we go through life, but the children are just, they know. Yeah.
No, it's funny that you're bringing this topic up. I just gave a presentation today in front of an intro agriculture class at my local college, and it like local food, like people don't realize, like you buy a tomato in the store, like they're picked green and ripened with ethylene gas. It's, yeah, like who wants that sort of tomato? And then it's so interesting to me, and I always channel Ellen Mary in this, is the new economy is abundant. It's fully abundant. Think about, you eat one tomato, your plant produces, if it's an indeterminate cherry tomato plant, you're talking hundreds of little tomatoes, and each of those tomatoes has like 20 seeds in it. I mean, you could like grow one plant and then plant 1,000. I mean, what kind of beautiful divine economy is that? Like, we're in complete abundance. We set up the structure. We start fertilizing the soil in a way that's natural with the leaves and we build a kin's domain. Like we're never gonna have to worry about food. We're gonna be like, squirrels, please take some. I mean, it's just sitting on the ground. I mean, you might as well feed your litter, feed your children. It's like, I mean, it's gonna be plentiful.
That's already. Yeah, I feel like that. I'm sure those of you that are growing on your own property, I have to give away because we have so much. Like right now, we have an abundance of chickweed in our cold frame, but I was like, that was a gift. I didn't plant chickweed. I actually searched all over my region for chickweed because it was an edible, like nice for my herbs, and then it just popped up in the cold frame, and it's like
Yeah.
amazing. So it's like, then you start to give away. Like I also see, like right now, money is a currency, right? And we're reclaiming it, or it's an energy flow, and we're shifting it in very powerful ways right now. And I'm curious to see how this play, like how we play with that energy. But it will become almost obsolete. I see this happening in about 18, sorry to be so specific, but it's like around 18 years from now, money won't have it nearly the same currency it does now, or dependency of what we have, what we see, what we attach to it. A huge reason will because of the way we've changed, the way we are, what we need versus what we want. We will be meeting in abundance the necessities of being human. And then it becomes play. Everything else becomes play. And when it's all the play is led from the heart, we birth heaven on earth.
Hallelujah. Amen. That's the truth.
I was muted, but that's exactly what I said. I said hallelujah.
That's awesome.
But it's exactly that. And I am so excited that you're saying these things, because I'm meeting tomorrow with this nonprofit to sort of pitch this a little bit. Okay, we've been talking about the currency of caring. We've been talking about heart-centered choices, and if it's coming from just everything you're saying, you've been here all along. And all these people on this call, in their own little way, have been starting projects about all of this. So tomorrow I'm meeting with this nonprofit who's they facilitate multiple programs, but I'm going to be pitching this idea of the solution, they're asking me to help with rural economic development program. And I'm just going to say, I have an agenda, just so you know. My agenda is to get the solution to all these problems that they've listed of what we need to do, poverty, health of children, education, commerce, all these things would be solved if you just gave people a place to live and grow their food. And once they have their own needs met, like you were saying, they filled their own needs. There's no desperation of, oh, I can't feed my family. I can't afford to pay my mortgage. You already have, it's yours. Here's land given to you, a space to grow. And then education on how to save the seed and replant it. And all of that, it solves all the problems. And then you end up with, okay, I'm taken care of. I'm at peace. I can make sane decisions. I can treat others with care because I'm not living in a place of desperation. And I have this overflowing abundance that all the extra is shared. And that's the currency, this overabundance of is your God-given right? So wish me luck.
Yeah, you're gonna totally change the whole blueprint of their mission. I can see it. I'm like seeing these men and these women being like, why didn't we meet this woman before? Oh my gosh.
I used to work for I worked for this nonprofit as their accountant when I had Kyla in 2012. And then Kyla was like, you are no longer working. She got kicked out of daycare, which I shouldn't have been. I needed to be with her. So they've asked me to come back again and help with this specific program. And I'm just like prefacing, just so you know, I am not just here to crunch numbers. I'm like, this is it. This is the solution. We'll see if they pick it up or not, but it's going to happen one way or another. Like if you used all the money budgeted in the government budget, that's budgeted for welfare programs, that we have, it's like EBT cards. If you just use that and used it to give people land to live on instead and grow their own food, you'd have solved this problem and you'd have extra money in the budget. It's all this very simple answer.
It
That's
is.
why, yeah.
Yeah, and even to have land that's community land that grows extra food, you know, and street side fruits and things like that. Like we've gotten into hybridizing the plants so they don't drop fruit. So our streets look neat and not messy. You know, it's kind of backwards to the idea of let's take all those unused spaces in cities and urban areas and create them to be living shared resources. So even if somebody has, you know, mental disorders and they're not, bye, and can't, you know, perhaps settle and own land or, you know, work the land that way, they have access to those resources too, and a sense of not needing to rely on those other ones. Oh, Megan's leaving too.
Bye, Megan.
Bye.
You're gonna do great. You're gonna get it. You will. Bye.
Wait. How do I get this? Oh, am I still on?
Yeah.
I changed, just so you know, you'll love this. Ariane's already gone, but I changed my meeting around tomorrow so that'd be right after the call, the Christina Horshins call.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Oh, you're gonna
So
be.
go into that afterwards.
You're gonna be flying into
Yeah.
your meeting. I'm excited. All our energy is gonna go with you.
Yeah, you're gonna plant the seed.
I'm honored to be the the whatever it's coming through. Woohoo! Here we go. But love you guys.
Bye.
Love you all. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, Ellen, just to like echo what you're saying, I think too with the community people, it's gonna take entrepreneurs. Like that's where, you know, Jewel, you know, you say like as a young child, you had this sense of intuition. Like I did too, except when I was a child, I couldn't wait to grow up. I couldn't wait to grow up and be in the world and to be able to do things and to make things better. Like I just was like, I was like 5 years old being like, I'm gonna dress up like an old, like a adult, you know, I'm gonna become like this business person and I'm gonna do these things. And that's always what I've wanted. And so I see myself in this equation as being really an entrepreneur for that. And I think we need individuals who are going to be like, hey, let's make these programs, you know, let's do it. Somebody doing them. And yeah, I think all of that combined, what Megan's saying is empowering the individual with choices, then creating community spaces, and then having people create programs too that kind of like connect all of the dots right now, you know, like Ellen's working on a marketplace like that's based off gift currency, you know, like I'm working on, like I run a farmer's market and I'm working on creating kind of like a CSA hybrid sort of food co-op type of thing at this current moment. It's like we're all doing these things that I think are bridging sort of gaps between this, you know, it's cool too. What is so cool about this community is it's practical. Like we're not just like, yeah, we're gonna, you know, the meditation does amazing things, like visualization does amazing things, but planting a seed also does amazing things. Like, you know, it's huge. Like there's power in being on terra firma, on being on earth, and like doing the seed things, like planting a seed, planting a tree, like going for walks, like, you know, observing, and then it's, yeah, anyway, please.
I wanted to just invite without pressure Jorge to share what his project is, because last time he had it up on his screen and I checked out his website. So are you still involved in that project? Do you feel like sharing about it?
Hi, Ellen. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Last time we were on, I remember that we went really deep in the language thing. Yeah. Vedrus.
Yes.
Exactly. So I went back and checked a lot of the videos of Leo Sharashkin.
Yeah.
He goes really deep into language. And I just remember seeing something about paradise, and he breaks it down to Sanskrit and all Vedic Russian language, and it comes until nowadays Russian language, that it means the land under the sun. That's the meaning of paradise, you know. And we think about it religiously, of this place where Adam and Eve were going around butt naked, no? and not worrying about food, and everything was abundant, sort of what you're describing on this call. And thank you, Ellen. I saw that you were looking at the website. I have been dealing with technical stuff because I am also the webmaster, but it's very slow to fix things. So yeah, I will fix things, and you will hear soon from the project. Sorry about the delay, and thank you for the invitation to talk about it. It's actually called Free Food for Future, because my ex-partner and I went to these marches. I don't know if you went to them in 2000, what was it, 2018? No, 2019, because of Greta Thunberg protesting for climate change and the end of the planet and all of that. But actually we were hearing everything that people didn't want anymore. Huh? So that was like the energy being in that demonstration or rally of these people from mostly, not all ages, they were mostly youngsters, and they were saying, we don't want fossil fuel, we don't want GMOs, we don't want this, we don't know. But I couldn't hear anything that they actually wanted, you know? So this was in Mexico City, and Mexico City is almost treeless in most of the parts of the buildings and the monuments and all of that. No trees. We have still some parks, but people are just thinking about how to feed themselves with the modern kind of food, you know, like the pizza and the burger and the tacos, and actually Mexico City is a foodie city. Like we get a lot of tourists to come and eat. No, they see all these programs of Mexico City having all this offering of international food and national food. But actually in Mexico City, we don't grow hardly any food. We grow some nopales up in this, well, in the south part of Mexico City. We don't have water, like, and this is actually a lake system. So we're thinking about the future, but at the same time to remember the past, because before the Spaniards came and conquered this land, this was Aztec land, and they were not perfect. Of course, they have also the craziness of the modern man of controlling and conquering other cultures, but they were in harmony, like the Chinampas, probably you have heard about. The Chinampas now are having a comeback, and Chinampas is one of the most fertile food production systems ever invented by humanity, as we can read about it, no? Like for the last, I don't know, 10,000 years. They get 3 abundant, nutrient-rich harvests. So we have everything available, but we have this paradigm of, well, in the Chinampas, you won't get a burger, you won't get a taco, you won't get like a fancy modern looking food. And me being actually very enthusiastic about what Anastasia said of liberating the thought capacity of women and men, of not thinking about food. Because for me, being a plant-based whole food eater, I guess 70% of my thought energy is focused on getting the best agroecology produce in the area, local, you know, whatever, and how to eat it fresh and really enjoy food. And there she comes in the book saying, oh yeah, like the squirrels come down and give me some pine nuts in my mouth. So, and I was not even hungry, but they thought that I was. So she's getting petted by the squirrels, you know, like, here's a treat, Anastasia, you know? And that frees so much energy to co-create. So I hear you and I understand what you're saying, but I think that like we need to quantum leap forward. Like it's not enough to think about, yeah, like community gardens, you know, like
Yeah.
because being a vegan, I'm used to being criticized of, oh, you can't live off salad, you know. But when I hear people thinking about gardening projects, they're out there planting salads. I'm like, okay, like you want to take a picture at the end of the growing season with your tomato and your lettuce, but that won't feed you. Like that's amazing to get reconnected with the soil and with the seeds, and that's super amazing, you know. But nowadays, I think that we need to dream bigger than that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really is going to feed us are trees, and not just trees, but trees forecasted as the next forests. And you know all about that, no? I have no doubt that you have heard about the Mayan culture and their solar system to create the milpas, which were like abundant, like the paradise that
What were they
you were
called?
describing.
What were they called? Mipas?
Well, milpa it's not a fixed concept. It's like the actual meaning is not Maya. It is the place where you grow food.
How do you?
That's the meaning.
How do you spell
Milpa?
that?
Yeah, I will write it in the chat for you. It's MILAP.
Okay, MILAP.
Yeah, milpa. But milpas for the Mayas were actually food forests. Well, it's called, nowadays they call it solares mayas. Solares mayas. That's in Spanish, you know. Solar, it's a way to refer to a land plot in the Spaniard culture. So because they conquered Mexico as a country, that name stuck, Solares Maya, but it's actually not Mayan or not Mexican. It's just like a blend of cultures, you know, Solares Mayas. So in these Solares Mayas, they were actually more fertile and more food producing than the Amazon, because they have like darker, nutrient richer soil in the Maya section, which is basically the southeast of Mexico, going down to Guatemala and Belize and stuff like that, no? Like down that direction. So nowadays there's still Mayan master gardeners, and yeah, you can see some of that in the website that Ellen was mentioning. It's called Free Food for Future, and that has like a compilation of a lot of videos. It's like a crash course, but at the beginning you can find some of these research done by universities in the US in the Maya region, and you will see like how they have understood the scope of growing food, which involved with the nowadays knowledge of permaculture. You could see zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, even zone 5, like for wildlife. And that is one of the aspects that is missing in most of these growing food locally projects, no? Like they don't think about wildlife. Or maybe they do, but they're like, oh, and we get hummingbirds and bees. and they're wildlife and they're amazing, but they're not big carnivore mammals. And most of the regenerative projects, they love to say that they are regenerating habitat, and they're hosting now owls and maybe eagles or stuff like that. But they hardly ever, or I would dare to say never talk about wolves, never talk about pumas, never talk about lions. I have only spoken to one person, Alan Savory. I don't know if you like know the name. He's like the, I don't know how do you call it, like the antithesis of vegan. But I actually like him, and he's a guy that told the Zimbabwean government probably 30 years ago to kill over 40,000 elephants. But he was trying to save the bigger scope, and he was like into the maybe the white man perspective of fixing the drought problem, you know. And they said, yeah, the elephants are ruining the landscape. So they actually killed 40,000 elephants in Africa, trying to fix the loss of habitats there. Anyway, I had the opportunity, a rare chance. I didn't ever thought that I would ask him these kind of things about his system. And he actually said that he trained the guards in the projects in Africa to manage lions, like wildlife lions. So he's the only guy out of probably over 50 regenerative projects that I have been in conferences or stuff like that, talking about big mammals, you know. And in the Solaris Mayas, we have the puma. And in the United States, you have cougars. And in Europe, they have lions. But they don't think about it because they're generating habitat for bees and butterflies. And they're amazing, but they need to think about who is the whole biodiversity of this planet, you know? So the bear of Anastasia, forget about it. Like bears, like they will take the honey and they will not make it easy for harvesting fruit for the farmers. So they don't consider these big animals, you know? And they're amazing and they should be included. Anyway, like I am very much into food, and I like what Wyatt was mentioning about exploring other dimensions of food, because it's not just one aspect of it, and having like the most beautiful, colorful heirloom tomato. It's about the connection to culture. It's about how do you prepare it for a food gathering with friends, and to connect you with the soil, and to think about the ancestors that actually kept that seed going from generation to generation. So there's so many other dimensions to food that it's worth considering, or are worth considering. Yeah, I think I have talked a lot. Thank you for the opportunity. And yeah, I will fix that thing technically and get back to you, Ellen. Thank you for visiting the site and for the invitation to talk.
Jorge, your dreams are very beautiful. I think we'll probably all go now, Jewel. I think it's been about 2 hours and 40 minutes. I don't want to keep anybody, but it's so good to have you, and so good to listen to your stories and your wisdom and your energy and your inspiration. So infinitely grateful to you as well, and I look forward to many more calls. Please, if you feel called to join the imagery call tomorrow, it's at Thursday tomorrow at I don't know, Nova Scotia's on the east end, so you're Eastern time.
Yeah, Atlantic time, so it's even a little bit later, I think, than Eastern time.
Oh, so it's like when it's 5 o'clock in New York, it's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, yeah.
Okay, so then it would be at 5 o'clock 5 o'clock
So
your time tomorrow.
oh, it's at 5 o'clock tomorrow. Okay, that might be.
No, it's the same time as tonight.
Right,
Yeah, I
but
thought so.
So
So
it's
then,
opposite, I think, right?
right, but it's 7 o'clock Central Time, which would be, oh, sorry, wait. So that would be 9 o'clock your time.
yeah, which is usually my bedtime, but I stayed up tonight and I think I'll stay up tomorrow too. I'd like to do the
Gosh.
imagery.
So it's
Yeah.
like almost midnight there.
Yeah, correct.
Oh my gosh. Jeez. Well, thanks for staying.
Yeah, no, it was I probably, yeah, it was very I'm very grateful to have connected with this beautiful community, and I look forward to being back. I might not stay on so late every night, but I really enjoyed tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
And
much. You were a huge inspiration in this call. This was huge. Thank you.
thanks.
It's like we maybe knew, but not really. Like there's kind of like we all know each other. So it's good to see you again.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Okay,
Okay.
well,
Good night.
Thank
good
you,
night,
everybody.
everyone.
All right. Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, guys.